Hey guys, welcome to Mrs. G's Sewing Space. Today we're going to learn how to make lanyards, and if you see this one off around my neck, this one is a lanyard that I made some time ago. It's old and it's funky and I love it. The ones that we're going to make here in my hand here, these are the ones that we're going to be making. Well, this is the one that we're going to make. And I ended up making it an inch shorter than I originally intended. I got distracted by my daughters while I was cutting out fabric, so it's an inch shorter, but it's okay. The steps are all the same, and all you need is a strip of fabric and a lobster claw with a D-ring attached to the end of it, and that's all you need to make a lanyard for your key card or your keys or however you want to use it. So let's get on to the video and I'll show you how to make it. For this video you're going to need this is a D-ring with a lobster claw clasp, and it's called a lobster claw because of the way it looks like a lobster claw. So you need one of those, and I want to say this is a 1/2 inch ring. Let's see, nope, I'm wrong. 5/8. So the straight line here is 5/8 wide. And then you'll need in this case, 2 strips of fabric. That's going to be my outside. So you'll need 2 strips of fabric, 21 inches long, and 2 5/8 of an inch wide. And this is what we're going to use to make our lanyard today. So the first step I'm going to do is to set aside my clasp, because we won't get to that till a little bit later. And I'm going to take my strips here, and because they are 2 strips, if you had enough fabric and you were able to cut 1 strip, then you would want to cut 41 inches length with 2 5/8 width. But I didn't have enough fabric, so I had to cut 2 strips. So each strip is 20 inches and an extra inch at the end for seam allowance. And what I'm going to do, I am going to sew these together so that there'll be one long strip. And this is how I'm going to do this. Right sides together. Oops, sorry. And I'm going to angle my end like this. So with my ends lying like this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to stitch from this corner to this corner. And the best way to see where you need to stitch is to fold your fabric like this. You're making a diagonal or a triangle, so you want to lay it so that your fabric looks like this. And then you just finger press, because that's where you're going to stitch at. That's where your seam is going to be. You just finger press that down, and then when you unroll it, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a slight crease right there. There you go, you can see it. So what you're going to do, you're going to sew on that crease right there. So, and you'll stitch on the line starting here to here, and when I come back I will have stitched that. Now that I have my fabric sewn together on the diagonal here, I had pins here on each side so that I could make sure the fabric wouldn't wiggle. I'm going to take that out, and when you unfold it, this is what it looks like. So now you've got one long strip. And it doesn't have to be perfect because that's going to be folded to the inside. But our next step is to iron everything so we can get our creases in place. So I'm going to move you over to the ironing board and I'll show you what to do over there. So here you see me trimming the excess fabric off. You want to take off all that extra fabric because all it does is produce bulk. So before you iron everything together and sew it together, trim off all the extra fabric, which is what I'm doing here. You also see me with my little pink water bottle spritzing because I don't keep water in my iron. So I'm spritzing the cotton fabric so that it'll keep a sharp crease. Also, you'll see me right now folding the fabric in half and ironing it down flat, because what you want is a good sharp crease so that it'll keep its edges, or it'll keep that sharp crease and it'll look nice as you progress. Now at this point, once I got done with the middle crease, I take one edge and I fold it towards the middle of the crease. So I'm not ironing out any of the creases that I put in, but I'm adding two. So see, I'm folding it right there towards the crease, and then I'm re-ironing on top to add all those creases together. Meanwhile, I'm spritzing with water to keep a sharp crease in the cotton quilting that I'm using for the straps. And then I just do the same thing to the other side, matching up the edges, so I try to get them as even and as equal as possible, using water to keep a sharp crease. And I do it all the way down to the end. And when you get to the middle where we sewed the straps together to make one long strap, it's just you just kind of finagle it so that it looks nice. Meanwhile, keeping all your edges together as best as you can so it looks nice and it's even. This is going to seem kind of backwards, but this is how we do this. You take your clasp that you had and you go ahead and thread your lanyard in like that. Without even sewing anything, you go ahead and thread it in. And what you're going to do, you're going to sew your edges together. So you're going to take your band and you're going to figure out where your crease is, like this. You're going to flatten it out all the way across, and you're going to have your ends meet up. So each end's going to meet up just like this, and you're going to sew right across here. So line everything up. And pin it in place. So right now, you're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance right across here. And I'm going to come back when I have that done, so I'll be right back. Okay, so here we are. We sewed up our end. So our right side's together, everything matches, everything is complete around the circle, nothing's twisted. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to quickly go over to my ironing board and I'm just going to iron this seam flat right here. I'm not going to iron the rest of it flat because I don't want to lose my creases. I'm going to use the tip of my iron and I'm going to iron just right here. So I'll be right back. Okay, so now I have that ironed. I didn't iron anything flat here, so I still have my creases. You can see them. I still have my creases, I just ironed this flat. So now I get to fold everything up. So it's just easier to kind of start at the end and use your finger and kind of push everything in back into the middle where it belongs. And same here. Just fold it all up. Just like that. And then I'm going to quickly iron that flat, and then we're going to sew it together. So once I get this ironed, what we're going to do, I'm going to sew along this open edge right here so that it closes. So I'm going to sew starting here along this edge all the way around, and then I'm going to sew here on this edge all the way around. So there should be 2 lines of stitching going down the band. And when I'm done, I'll be right back. I sewed the end, right, folded everything in, and now I sewed my 2 lines of stitching down each side. And my stitching looks kind of wonky because 1, I don't have matching thread so you guys can see the stitching, and 2, I believe I need to change my needle, which is giving me wonky stitches. And that's almost it. We got one more step. So once you get to this point, your strap is sewn together. It's in a complete circle, so everything is ready to go. One last step. This is what we need to do next. Okay, so our last step is to take our lobster claw clasp and fold it where our seam is. See, this is our seam where we sewed the 2 sides together. So we're going to push our lobster claw clasp to the end, and we're going to pinch our straps together like this. You're going to take it to the sewing machine and you're going to sew a line of stitching right here. You're going to go across it like 2 or 3 times to secure the stitching. And when you're done, you'll be all done. Okay, so I have the lanyard here. Here's the lanyard. Sides together. And this is my lobster claw. And I'm going to put the presser foot right here against the edge. You'll feel the hump. So I put it right here. Slide it up underneath. It's kind of thick, so it might take us some wiggling and some lining up. Try and get everything even. If you're using matching thread, it'll be better, because then nobody will see your mistakes. And there you go, just push it through. And then most sewing machines have a reverse button, so just reverse back and then go back forward, and then cut it loose, and then trim those threads. And there you go. Now you have a lanyard that you can use for whatever reason, whether you want to hold your keys on it, whether you have an ID badge or a key card that you need to get into a building with, if you want to make them to sell, if you want to make them to give out as gifts. Now you know how to put it all together. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you found it was a super simple and easy project. All you need is the fabric and the lobster claw. You could probably make a ton of these in one sitting, and I would probably do an assembly line, as in cut out all your fabric first and then take each step at a time and do multiples all at once. So it's like if you wanted to make 10 of these, then I would cut out 10 strips of fabric. I would then iron them all at the same time, and then I would sew them all at the same time. So instead of working on one individual one and completing it and then moving to the next one, you kind of work on all of them at the same time, and it's a little faster to do that. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, click the buttons below, let me know that you like it, leave a comment below, and always subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.